Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Friedman, and this is my
Ron
husband.
Friedman.
And we're here to talk a little bit about peace, have a dialogue about it. And first of all, it just seems so elusive, doesn't it? Just peace. And yet it is so much in the forefront all the time. Everybody's talking stop war, have peace. In a way, we all want peace and we long for peace. And yet we can't seem to have it manifest right around us.
It seems that if you ask anyone, do you want peace? They will say yes. We may mean different things, but at the same time, it's almost as if the desire for peace, whatever it experientially refers to, is present in every human being.
I think so. I really do. And I think even people who seem to want to fight and have conflict, their desire for the conflict is essentially a thinking that if that conflict were resolved in their way,
Hmm.
then they would have peace. So the bottom line is always, no matter how we go about getting it, that by doing whatever we think it is that will get it, that is what we're looking for.
And at the same time, we have the lessons of history, which unfortunately are not very well listened to, which tells us that peace is a transitory state when it occurs. It is always seemingly followed by war. And the great Russian teacher Gurdjieff said, if you really look at it dispassionately, you will find that war occurs more or less every 30 years.
That's true. And Gurdjieff actually goes to say that war is the result of certain planets moving in certain kind of alignment with each other. And he also feels that he also says that the moon feeds on the negative emotions of humanity, so that conflict is actually doing something in a universal sense, and that if that were to stop, that the whole thing would be out of alignment. Very unusual.
That's a very radical approach to it, even to consider that even negative energy is useful in the larger economy of the universe and the solar system. But putting that aside, it really does seem, if you look at events and current events, that there are wars, there is suffering, there is lack of peace and direct opposition to peace everywhere on the surface of the earth.
Yes, and also there's an airplane going by, so hope you'll forgive our noise here.
Disturbing our peace.
Disturbing our peace, yes. Also, since the history of humanity has been the history of wars and time in between wars, which I guess we call peace. But I don't think that's what it is, because that time in between wars is still full of like rattling and conflict. It is not a resolution of a peace that is sustainable. It's just a kind of a waiting, a holding pattern where things have been stopped and just okayed for a little while, and then you just know it's going to happen again.
Well, I think Victoria, you're touching on something very important, which I think any discussion, any consideration of peace uh, has to put in front of each individual, because what we're talking about is, what does peace really mean on a national level, on an individual level? What is peace when it is considered from without or from within?
Well, that's a huge topic, and we're going to be having some more meditation on all this. And I think we should look at that because it is so true. We talk about unconditional love all the time. People talk about unconditional love. And do we talk about unconditional peace? And we might talk about it in terms of uh, ourselves, our inner peace. The difference here is, what about world peace? Is there such a thing as unconditional world peace?
That's that's a very big question. And it really, I mean, we can't really talk about peace unless considering the various contexts in which we're talking about it. And what does it really mean for a nation? How would a nation define peace? How would China define peace? How would America define peace? How would Nigeria define peace?
So as we were saying, I often think about unconditional peace because, unconditional love is kind of in the conversations. And we have some sense of that because of being a parent or, being someone in a relationship, the whole quality of unconditional love. And unconditional peace, I feel like it's there in terms of inner peace. A lot of people can speak about that. We love to speak about that, the fact that even in really bad circumstances, there is a place that is untouched, that we find an inner peace in it. I mean, Viktor Frankl in the Holocaust, people all over the world have these kinds of witnessing has been given. But unconditional world peace, that I don't hear a lot about that. And I wonder about that. Is that something that we should be looking at?
Well, I think that in terms of unconditional world peace, we really have to go and understand what we mean by peace. What is unconditional peace? Um, to think of, a very frequent prayer in spiritual circles. May peace prevail on earth. Peace apparently does not prevail on earth. History says no, it does not prevail unconditionally on earth. So, what is meant by that? Peace prevail on earth. We have to really look at how we understand that when we say unconditional peace or peace prevailing on earth.
Yes. So interesting, Ron, because of course, like when you said, what is peace? What is peace? Like, what is the experience of peace? Like what have we been taught? What have we been programmed with about the experience of peace? What is really the real experience of peace? Because many experiences, like, for instance, joy, I think that has been kind of inculcated into us as some kind of a bubbling, incredible situation where we're feeling great and we're elated. But, in terms of real joy, sometimes it's not like that. So if we're looking at joy in terms of just the superficial. So what about peace? What is peace? More deeply, what is that sense of peace? A lot of people feel like peace might be static, like nothing is going on. Is peace active? can we be seeing peace and still trying to change and do all the things that don't align with it or don't look like it? Can we be? Can we still be seeing peace in the world and still be acting to fix it?
You know, that's an incredible question, because if we look at society, everything in society is not about peace. How many movies, entertainment, even our sports are built on the lack of peace, competitiveness, which does not generate a sense of peace. So we really have to begin to ask a question. I don't want to get rid of baseball. What does baseball mean in terms of peace? Is peace possible as an experience in a highly competitive game of baseball?
So again, the question is, what is peace? And we're listening to this beautiful music by the Starscape Singers and Kenneth George Mills and conducting them. And peace, I don't think it's just stillness and no activity. It's not like that, because if peace is something that is constant, what I mean by that is peace is unconditional, which means peace exists even though conflict appears to be happening. And that is something that the mind can't possibly imagine. So the peace that we're looking for is not a peace that the mind knows. It's a peace that the mind settles down. It gets quiet. That does not mean that we can't be active. That does not mean we can't be having ideas or working or doing everything we need to do to help this world become more sustainable. I read a statement from a Zen master that said, "You are perfect, but you need improvement." And that can be understood as one. That is not two things. That is one. Just that the mind thinks of that as two. But what if something could be perfect? What if peace could be present, as a presence, as a living embodiment of what is going on in the universe? And yet there is a drama going on that appears very unpeaceful to our mind. So I think that that's the kind of questions, Ron, that I have about this.
Mhm. Well, it's a very good question. Um, as you are, hearing you speak, I hear the question formulated as, what is peace beyond activity? What does it mean to be fully active and yet be peaceful? For example, I'm sitting here, I'm talking, I'm looking at you, I'm smiling, I'm feeling the sun coming on one side of my face. But as I listen to the music, this gorgeous music, between the times we speak, peace is a feeling that I have in listening to the music. I actually feel peaceful. something begins to reveal itself within me as I listen to music, this music. So that seems to be a clue to something that is within us, that is evoked, recognized by the music. That's quite a realization if we stop and look at that, we ponder that. What are you saying to me? I have peace already inside me.
Well, it seems like that, Ron. When you're speaking, I have the distinct sense about how all action really needs to come from peace. It's not as if like we listen to music, become peaceful, and then think of something to do. It's more like that we are actually peace being. We are peace being, and that the actions that come from that peace being, that recognition of it, that looking for it, like if we were told that there was $1 billion inside our house somewhere, we would stop everything and look for that money really carefully. So if we've been told from the Upanishads to the present day, Eckhart Tolle and many non-dual teachers, if we're told that peace is something that is essential, peace is. It's not something that is not here. It is something that is always present. It is part of the whole. It's the whole. If we're told that, I feel like we should look for that. Because very often, we look for conflict. Like we love conflict. And I mean, I can't even talk about media and stories and children and what that means. We just love the drama, love the content. But to find peace, not to find it because it's not lost, but to access peace in a deeper way, we have to take our interest off the content. We have to make the content recede and see what comes forward. That does not mean that the content is not going on the way it's going on. It is. The drama is definitely going on the way it's going on. And there are definite things that can be done to help. But the point being that we can look at the content and try to help from our belief and complete absorption and emotionality about the content, or we can just move away from the content and look for those eyes of love, those eyes of peace, to see how to move.
You know, that that really what you said brought out for me the whole issue of what is not peaceful in us. First of all, that we label as not peaceful. And then perhaps we can begin to, if we understand what is not peaceful and where it comes from, we can begin to reveal what is peaceful, what is part of a deeper soul quality, natural quality of peace. Because we know for sure that peace existed even before the creation of the universe. The universe was created by a big bang, so to speak, wrong, unwrought by modern physics. But that which created the Big Bang was essentially peaceful. So what do we mean by unpeace? What do we mean by what is going on that we consider not peaceful in us? It's a different line of questioning.
Absolutely. And it's important to take a look at our thinking. I don't know if that's what you're meaning, our thinking, because our thinking is not peaceful. Thinking is not a peaceful process.
Hmm.
The thinking mind, especially with what our society and conditioning and programming since, I don't know, many generations. Because the thinking mind thinks of us as a separate individual, a separate piece, a part of a whole, but a separate part. Something could happen to us. We have to protect ourselves. We have to make sure that we take care of ourselves because nobody else is going to take care of us, and everybody else just cares about themselves. So, is that true? In the mind, that is true. That is really, really true. Some of it is really helpful to negotiate life, but a lot of it is just very detrimental. I often think like, I know we think we have to get together to create peace. Somehow we have to get together, like a lot of waves have to get together to create peace in the ocean. So I just think about that a lot, and I always think that there's a lot of talk that there's a we that can do more than a me. And in a way, that's true. But in a way, there is the sense that if we consider ourselves one and we really take that as a premise, like entertain that idea, just entertain it. We take ourselves as one. I think eventually that thought quiets the mind because it can't understand it. And there's a sense that there is not a we or a me, but just a one. And that one takes care of itself. So it's a sense run that is like when we get together, we had a theater ensemble that everybody was like, wants to be the star, wants to have the most lines. And then we enter the field, we just miraculously, something happens and it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't even come into being. And the fulfillment of that me and we being one, like there's no differentiation because there's no me and there's no we. There's just one. There's just like there is. And that fulfillment actually is fulfilling to the me. It really is. It's more fulfilling to the me than having the me win the lottery and win all the stuff. It's hard to imagine.
That is hard to imagine. I think that has to be experienced directly. But I think the obstacles, like we were talking about, to oneness is everything that we are taught by our society from the day we were raised. Everything teaches us, including our thoughts, our programmed thoughts, which become habitual, which become repetitive, which become associative, keep on a track, which enhances and confirms separation. And when we look at our own thinking, which is against this, not only the concept, but the feeling of oneness, which perhaps is essential to us, then these thoughts are some kind of an incredible barrier and have a lot of emotional force behind them to confirm separation.
Yeah, and just taking a look at that and acknowledging that is really a good thing. When we begin to see, I think, just to see that those are thoughts, that the thoughts of conflict are thoughts of conflict. Conflict is definitely going on, but the thinking of it as bad, good, as barbaric, as all our labels on it, it is what's going on. And somehow in that, there is some piece that is holding that. And that gives a big breath, at least it does to me, to just consider that. Again, I don't think the mind can think that there's peace and conflict are one. I don't think there's no way to explain that with the mind. It's more a sense of peace. It's a sense of peace. And so it's not for us to feel peaceful. I don't really look to feel peaceful. A lot of that can be just detachment and kind of laziness, or just trying to not even be involved in what's going on in the world, which is the opposite of peace. So it's not about feeling it. It's not about thinking it. It's not really about having our bodies still and very relaxed. It's more than that. It's something greater than that. It's something that is always here, something that is so precious, something bigger. That's the thing about it. It has to be something really, really outrageously special. It can't just be like another idea.
No, no, it's not. It can't be promoted as an idea that we all agree to in large spiritual aggregations. We agree to it. It's a feeling which is substantiated by our own experience. But what we're talking about when we consider what is peace, what is war, what is not peace, it's almost as if we have to have an archaeological dig. You know what? To dig up all the remnants of the past and see the present moment. What is left over in the present moment that we're speaking about? And we are saying the present moment, in its very essence, is peaceful. But to see conflict and violence that is built into our upbringing, our thinking, and not, and even more than that, life on earth, which is intrinsically violent in the way that we understand it. We have to create a new interpretation of life on earth. So all this talk about peace, I'll never forget a time quite a while back when I sat myself down and I really asked the question, what do I want? What is this peace we're talking about? What do I really, really want? If I have to look inside and distill it, because we have to know what we mean by peace, what it means for us, what it means on a national level. It may not be the same thing or at the same depth. And so I sat quietly and it was a while. And I realized that peace for me was a way of being such that I felt at peace no matter what was happening externally. I valued that way of being peaceful more than anything, because that way of being peaceful was a very large space of acceptance and understanding. These were all feelings connected with that one sense of stability, of silence, of sanity. I know I'm trying to convey something that I experienced, but the invitation is, what does peace really mean for me? What does it really, really mean? So that was my experience. And I just wonder, I mean, how do you look at it, Victoria?
Well, that was beautiful, Ron. I think I look at it as something that has many names. It's not peace. It's a question of identity. To say it most simply, it's a question of identity. I don't really, again, I don't really agitate myself that I am not peaceful as a person, as a mind in this world. And when I see things that aren't peaceful, there's reactions, there's and there's a lot of turmoil that can happen. But I know that it's not, that is not the truth of what really is. Uh, I don't know how I know that. I don't know how I know that, but it's something that has been, I use the word premise because it started as a premise from my teacher, my mentor, Kenneth George Mills, who kind of imparted me that gift. And so I feel that that identity of what we truly are, that conscious awareness, is not in conflict, is not in conflict. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't situations and feelings and conflict within the person. And I kind of allow that to be. Not that I allow it. What can I do with it? I mean, conscious awareness doesn't come in and fix any of that. I can't fix it as a person. I can't solve the problem from the problem. So what I really have done is just let it, just be with it. Be with it as much as I can. Give it space. Give it space to feel that conflict, to see what's going on in the world, to watch that news, to see what's going on in my own, in my mind and my emotions about life as I think it should be. Always like I think it should be. Never just the way it is. It just doesn't go there. But there's just something in that, there's something in that, just as it is, the way it is. And I read a lot of teachers who stand for that standpoint and support it. So that helps me a lot. So that peace is part of that, whether it's peace or compassion or love or patience or integrity or authenticity or truth or uh, goodness. It's all there. It's all there. It's just not in what appears.
It's funny because in a way we're circling around to what we said at the very beginning. When you say it's all there, it really is all there. It's what everyone wants. Everyone wants. I'm always mystified by the fact that we know a lot about what we don't want. But how do we know what we don't want if something in us is not already really knowledgeable of what we're looking for? There's a practice in spiritual circles, in the Advaita tradition, of approaching one's true nature by the practice of neti, meaning not this, not that, get rid of all that it's not, and what you are will reveal itself. Well, how do you know what it's not to begin with if you don't already know what it is? But that's the secret factor. That's the part that we don't really look at and let it hit us over the head in its truth, in its realization. And this is what we're saying about peace. How come everybody wants peace? They may not define it carefully like I do, or like you do, but something we know deep inside. We know.
Are we doing on time? Okay.
Is that recorded?
Yes, it is recorded. I'm just looking. Um,
Here's the time.
so what I wanted to say is also, like we long for peace. Human beings long for peace. I think maybe animals long for peace. The poor birds are so paranoid, looking around all the time, something will happen to them. Every minute they're like looking around to see that. And so we long for peace. And I think longing to me is peace. Somebody said about belonging. I want to belong to something. I think we want to be longing. We want to be longing, and we're longing to be. And so I don't long really to be 5'8". I really mean, imagine that that would be a very good thing, but I don't long for it because I know it's not possible. Notice that we don't long for things that are impossible. I
Mm.
don't long to live forever. Not really. I'm, be fearful and, like be staying annoyed that I'm not 5'7". I'll be annoyed that I don't have, I don't know, a PhD. I could be annoyed, but I don't long for it. I think we long for something that is possible. I think we long for it because we know it's there. It's almost it's like, there's a fog over us. As I put in my children's book, there's a fog and there's a sunshine behind that fog. And we just long for that sunshine because we know it's there, because we don't long for things that are not possible.
Hmm. I think it's a very big point. We don't long for things that are not possible. We don't really know what we know, what we are. We don't really know. And that's really, I guess, what we call the spiritual journey, to discover what we are, what we know. When we say, may peace prevail on earth, there is a feeling connected with it. When we say that, it is beyond the definition of peace. It's a knowing of a feeling that we want to share, and more than to share, we want it to be. And somehow we wouldn't have that feeling
Mm.
if we didn't know that it could be. So that's a very big clue, a realization that peace is possible because we already know that it is.
Thank you, Ron. Yes. Okay, so um, if we knew, if we knew that peace already exists, we knew that. And by knowing something, I mean knowing that the capacity of knowing, not thinking, not having a theory, not reading about it, but we really know, like I know I'm sitting down. So if we knew that peace does exist, and I don't know the answer to this, how would we go about planning what we do? The only thing I do know is we would stop doing some of the things we're doing, or at least doing them from the perspective that we're doing them from. For example, we would not be trying to create peace. Why would we need to create something that already exists? It's like, the field, Rumi says out there, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field of wrongdoing. There's a field beyond ideas. I'll meet you there. But, some people are creating the field, getting together and creating the field. And, that's fine. I really have, no problem with that. I just wonder how we could create. So who is creating the field? Like, I don't really feel that my mind and what I am as my programmed personality and belief that I am the body, the mind, and the feelings and the emotions, I don't believe that that could create a field. The field as we know it, this incredible oneness and wholeness of universal significance. I don't feel that. So that would have to stop a little bit, that we would say, okay, I do not have to create peace because it exists. And we'd have to start looking.
So the question is, how do we come to this knowing of peace so it becomes this knowing, becomes an activist, a spiritual activist in world affairs? I'll tell you one thing that immediately comes to mind, which is we have to take people who know this and teach it and witness it to young children. Bring them up with a new paradigm of reality. And I know many people, not many, are trying to do this, but show it forth as a fact of what we truly are. And then what we're asking is, okay, if you know it, how would you act from it? And the interesting thing to me about knowing that I am in essence peace, and so are you, is a moral code, which is included with that knowing, with that realization.
Yes, and I don't really know how, Ron's question, how, people can come into that realization. It seems to happen. And we have a lot of people in conscious evolution, unitive narrative, that are really so much on the path of that knowingness. And so I don't know how to spread that in the world. I do think that for me, it was sparked, but then I took the premise on, as I said. I started to say, what if, in my life? Now, maybe it's not on a world stage that I'm on, but in my life, I've been living on this earth. And what that has done is had the actions that come from me, the actions are so connected with that premise. What I'm saying is they're not made up things that I want to do because my personality has some idea or opinion, pin people. It's not an opinion or knowledge that I've gained. It's like there is a flow from that source because that piece is our source. It's what we are. And then, like for me, it's been very creative, extremely creative. I think it's very active. I think the coming from the source is extremely active. I am so much more active now than I was when I was an artist working from my personality. So much more active. And the things that come out are so genuine and so authentic. And that I think helps the world. I hope it does. I really hope it does. And I can't imagine if everybody started to have that kind of quality. It's fulfilling. So we're not anymore in need. We're not like having neediness from conflict that it has to stop so we feel better. So that need kind of settles more into like a sadness that more people, aren't aware of this and and that, perhaps it just seems so simple and real that we need to get along, that we can get along because we are peace itself. And no one has to be, what's the word, diminished. Nobody's going to lose anything. That lose and win game is just in our person. Once we touch that hem of peace, that goes away. I can't explain it. Just that you have a different orientation to it. The need for all the things we think we need does fall away.
So I think that peace, like love, is included where we began in the beginning about one, about unity. So that sense of unity, once it is realized, peace is included in that sense of one. If there is one, then we are that, it is us, it is we. It's a back and forth realization. There is no separation. And there is a larger wisdom, a love, a peace included in the realization of unity. So that would be a very good beginning.
And the Upanishads say that peace cannot be found in the finite. It can only be found in the infinite. And so this is not a new idea. This is not something that is a new earth or a new idea or a new epic. This is something that has always been present, and it's something that is unchanging. Unchanging. What about ourselves is completely unchanging. That which is unchanging is peaceful, is peace itself.